Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. 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 Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Hello, St. Vincent. My name is Orande BOMANI Charles, and you're watching Mic Check. Alright, stay tuned. And yes, my real name is BOMANI.
Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. 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 Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Well, yeah, I should tell you about my musical journey and experience and where I started from. Music came to me back in school. Actually, I was around 12 years old when I started writing in poems and songs and stuff, you know. But I didn't really get enough courage to bring myself to a place where I was singing until I was around 18 years old, when I started meeting people who were already in the music business. The first person I met was a young lady by the name of Pat Ralph, who was a junior, very well-known junior calypsonian. I believe she won the crown on several occasions, and we became good friends. She actually escorted me to my graduation, and she introduced me to a keyboard player by the name of Joanza King, who played in a band called Signal. Incidentally, the son of a legendary Vincentian musician by the name of Patches Knights. And so that began really my, I would say, schooling into entertainment and live performances. And so I really started out from a live musical background, because all the people that I hung out with were older than myself, but they were all musicians and they played instruments, and they gave me a mic and told me to sing. And that's when I discovered that there was some talent there as well in terms of vocals, besides the nurturing of writing ability that I've been nurturing. So in 2001, I made that decision to drop everything I was doing. I was working in Kingston. I wouldn't tell you where I was working. And I just dropped all of that and decided to give music and entertainment a shot. And that's when I was recruited into a band named Black Sun. Most people will be familiar with that band name. St. Vincent and the Grenadines made over the years tremendous contribution to music. And they actually took me to New York in 2001. And I joined the likes of Chanel McKenzie, a younger Chanel McKenzie, energetic Madzat, veteran Johnny Rebel, and we held on the front line. And I think we had one of the most cohesive, I believe, chemistry of frontline vocalists. And we became good friends over the years, and we remain good friends. But that was my first taste of, I would say, major stage experience in St. Vincent and abroad. But back then I was pretty much a vocalist back then. You know, I was covering the popular songs of the day, and I remember doing songs like Footsteps and Crazy and all of that stuff, and getting, you know, learning that aspect of live entertainment in the soca arena. Because prior to that, when I was hanging around with Prerogative and Patches Knights and them, we did a lot more like reggae music and pop music and R&B music, and those were some influences that I had in the early times as well. The first music that I heard in my house was reggae all day long, because my dad was heavily into that stuff, the Burning Spear and the Peter Tosh and the Bob Marley and the Bunny Wailer and all of that. And but my mom sang as well, and so she was into the soul stuff. So I could remember her singing a lot of, you know, Gladys Knight and stuff. And so that played a role into the stuff that I became interested in after I started searching for my own musical identity growing up. When I moved on from Black Sun, I was really looking to form my own, set my own pace and form my own musical catalog. And so I had to rely on the practice that I'd been cultivating over the years of writing material, writing songs, and I began to look into the people who I thought I could follow behind in terms of soca music and soca and calypso music. And I started listening to the radio intently, looking for voices that I could identify with. And the first voice I heard, even though I've been hearing the song, the first time I really paid attention to it, I realized that he was doing something that I felt like I could do, and that person was Winston. So he had a song named I don't mind if you want to give me, I won't refuse it. And to me, that was, he was singing soulfully, expressing soulfully, but on a calypso beat. And I found that if I could learn how to do that, then I could find a way to find a spot in the thing, you know. And that really opened up my ears to start listening to more of that kind of music, you know, and started discovering people like David Rudder and Onion and Burning Flames and Edwin Yale Crossfire and on all this sort of stuff. I wanted to do music that made ladies scream when they came on, because that's the experience that I had, sneaking out and going fillows. Yes, I did that. When certain songs would come on, you would hear the ladies scream. Certain soca songs would come on, you would hear the ladies scream, and it made it easier to get the conversation going, and you could get a dance that way, you know. So that was where it started in terms of me writing and trying to come up with that kind of material. And I knew early on that that's the direction that I wanted to head into. By between 2001 and 2003, it was me performing with Black Sun / Hot Sun around St. Vincent and the Grenadines with Madzart and Chanel and Johnny Rebel, doing all big shows in Victoria Park and elsewhere, and traveling to the United States and Canada and performing. But up to that point, I was still a vocalist covering other people's songs, and I didn't have my own songs yet. An opportunity came to me in 2003 to take up a contract as a singer, as a vocalist on Carnival Cruise Lines with my good old friend Jawanza King. And as tough as a decision as it was to leave the band at the time, I saw it as an opportunity to not just broaden my horizons in terms of the experience that I could have doing this, but to really learn more about the craft of entertaining and entertaining various audiences. And that really was a sort of a factory for me, because every week the audience changed and they came from all over the world, and so you had to really be creative in finding new experiences for them every time they came on. And I did that for a very long time, much longer than I expected to. But it taught me a lot. So by the time I got back to St. Vincent, I've been writing while I was out there as well. And I happened to have written a song that was inspired by the experience called Booty Call while I was out there, with the intention of recording it for Vincy Mas 2004, because I returned to St. Vincent in 2004. But that's where everything changed, because when I got back here, I recorded Booty Call and another song that I wrote called I Am Soca, which became, as people know, Road March and Soca Monarch 2004. It was a explosive time, really, in terms of me coming on the scene. It was the first time I ever competed. I was never really into the competition thing. I always felt like music should be about the mission that you embark on in sharing your creativity and your talent, and not necessarily gladiator competing against people. But it really provided a stage for me to express and expose the talent. So I advise everybody who has a chance to compete, because it really did put me on a different platform. Whether hitherto people saw me around on the stage as a vocalist, but I didn't have material of my own, and so it really was the time that BOMANI became a name in St. Vincent associated with music. So it will forever remain the year I think people would see. People would look back on and say, yes, that's the time when they became familiar with BOMANI. Water, please. Water break.
Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. 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 Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, so that experience in 2004 was, you know, a tremendous one for me. Taking the road march and the Soca Monarch and all of that, and really having a song that did well, not just in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but it really spread around the region. And two songs actually, because Booty Call was the introductory song to BOMANI as well. And I think I was old enough to appreciate it and take it in, but it seemed like a whirlwind kind of situation, and it went by so fast, you know. But I think I was mature enough to understand what it was, and so I use it really as a platform, a springboard to do other things. The next year though, I started working with a number of other producers, and one of the persons that I met in New York while I was there was a Vincentian producer by the name of Cherry Ince, who some people would know was a member of the band Touch, and who had been doing some great studio work, and we ended up doing some work together on a song called Wet, which became yet another song that really solidified the identity of BOMANI as a Vincentian artist around the region and internationally, and for the soca consuming diaspora of all the islands. And I would say, you know, that experience, the culmination of those three songs meeting up around 2005, 2006, really got me exposure that I would not have had I not been, you know, writing my own stuff. So I got to perform all over the world. I got to meet a lot of interesting and creative musicians and people, and it was just a tremendous experience, and I felt really happy to have come from where I came from. You know, I grew up in Camden Park in a village called Carib, and it was unlikely that somebody with no prior musical experience or people to look up to in the village, in the community, who were musicians, that we didn't really have that sort of experience to you know, find my way through all of that and find people to work with, and musicians and producers who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. As I look back on it, a remarkable thing that I'm always thankful for, always grateful for. So I really head down in a particular direction based on the influences, as I mentioned before, to start to write some songs around the wet booty call sort of feel, you know. And the next year I came up with a song called Sweetness. I think that sort of gave me a sense of security that I had these types of songs that people are appreciating and are actually coming to see me perform. And so it really helped me to focus and not worry so much about, you know, where things are going to go, and focus on refining the style and the essence and the vibe of BOMANI. Around that time though, around 2006, I also I saw it as an opportunity to let people know that I wasn't just a soca artist, you know. I felt like I was a musician, I was an entertainer, and I spent a lot of time feeding myself with all the great R&B, soul, pop, hip-hop artists, reggae artists, you know. And I would have my moments when I would be listening intently to Stevie Wonder, or I might listen intently to the vocal stylings of Gladys Knight, or, you know. So I studied a lot of that stuff, and when I had the opportunity to work on the cruise ship, I did a lot of that stuff. And so when I was approached in 2006 to appear on the Blues Festival, Blues and Rhythms Festival, I knew that I could do it. It wasn't a thing where I was a soca artist trying, or coming across as somebody who's trying to do some other stuff. I knew that I spent enough time studying all the greats, and I had, some great friends who were great musicians who I could turn to put together a nice little package to entertain the people, and I think they received it really, really well. And I had that to me is one of the best times I had performing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I would always remember that as one of the moments that I felt that I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. It was a really comfortable moment for me. I'd written this song like years before that did not get recorded, but I had the opportunity to meet another producer in New York, another Vincentian producer by the name of Parry Jack, who reminded me somewhat of Joanza because he's a great keyboard player. He plays live music as well, and we had recorded a song that I was hesitant to record myself. I had written it, but I knew it was a cool song, but I was hesitant to record it myself because of the implications. I didn't want to be stuck with that whole name, but when I got to meet him, we had a limited window to work, and so I remember calling my brother at home back here in St. Vincent, asking him to go look in my old little notebook that I would write my lyrics in and find me the song, because I had forgotten some of the stuff. And so we went into the studio and we came up with, if you want me to dance, I'm willing to take a chance. If you want me to whine, jam on you from behind. I ain't not going down there tonight. and that became something else that people took and ran with. It actually became my third single to be signed to VP Records. I had two other songs that were signed prior to that, which was Wet and Booty Call. To hear people appreciating the stuff, because going into the studio and recording stuff, you never know how people are going to react. It's always a chance that they're not going to understand what you're trying to do. But I felt good that people was able to look beyond the booty call thing and beyond the I Am Soca thing and beyond the wet thing and beyond the sweetness thing and hear this song and go, well, it sounds good too, And that really just gave me further encouragement to continue to write and record.
Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. 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 Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
In 2005, I went to St. Lucia to represent St. Vincent at the OECS Soca Monarch competition, and that was another experience that I always remember. I will always remember, because the performance on the night of the show was perhaps the most stripped down performance. I mean, I don't think I've ever spoken about this before, but when I went there pretty much by myself. I met a DJ friend of mine over there who was, taking me around. I had been there, I think twice before, because the song I Am Soca became popular in St. Lucia, even before the competition. But I didn't know how, I didn't know to what extent that was. So when I went there pretty much by myself. And the night of the show, it became a very stripped down, raw performance. It was me, the microphone, and like some dancers that I actually hired on the spot, like at the show. Like they were dancing for one of the other competitors who came before me, and after they finished, they came back up to the dressing room, and I went to then that's when I realized that wait, I didn't have no dancers. So I went to them and hired them, and they charged me like I think it was like $60 or something for each of them, and so I have no idea what they were doing behind me. So it was pretty much just me, the band, and the mic, and the audience, and I had to rely on all the experiences that I had performing in live bands and everything up to that point to deliver the song. And I think fortunately for me, it was a popular song in St. Lucia, so it wasn't somebody coming from outside with a song that nobody knew, you know. And once I realized that, it really helped me to calm myself down and really deliver performance and people, just get people to enjoy themselves, which was the main thing. I ended up winning that competition too, which was, you know, surreal, because I was prepared to, you know, have my fun, go over there, do my best to represent St. Vincent, and come back home. But I was announced the winner of the competition, and so that was another proud moment for me, to be able to go to another country and represent St. Vincent and do well enough to bring the crown back to St. Vincent. Around 2006, I would say, was the culmination of a period of successive tours, you know, and constant promoting and grinding, because to me, winning Soca Monarch was impressive in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and it was important for my career. But I saw it, I didn't intend to just stay there, you know. I saw it as a platform, as a springboard, and I saw it as an opportunity to get the name and the brand and the music out there. And so I had to come to understanding that I had to grind, you know, I had to move. And so there was a series of events that I had to undertake. And you know, you go in, no sleep, not eating properly, and you just grinding. And unfortunately, that came to that played to my detriment. You know, came to a head sometime in 2006 when I collapsed. Yeah, collapsed. Blocked out, had a seizure, and had an injury to my jaw right here. And I was in a hospital. I went to the hospital in Brooklyn, in New York, and there were, you know, there's some friends with me, and it was I would say it was a traumatic kind of experience, but it also taught me inner strength, because the first thing, people came to the hospital and people were crying, and but I was like, okay, well, you know, this is an inconvenience for me. I have things to do. What are we doing? How can we fix this? Let's, you know, fix this and get this over with, so I could get on with my business. You know what I mean? And so the doctors came in and they said, we have to wire your jaw shut for 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm like, what? I was like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? Because I felt like this was just an obstacle, a hurdle that I could get over, and I really dig deep into myself, and because I knew that my job was not done, and whatever I had to do to get through it, you know, I would do, and I got through it. And I had great support from friends. I don't know if they want me to call their names, but I think it served a number of different purposes, because one of the things that it gave me was a chance to sit back and step outside of my own busyness that was going on around that time, and really observe some of the things that was happening in the world. You know, at the time we were in a lot of turmoil globally, you know, and it got me to thinking about the type of music that I was doing, and if I couldn't do more, if I couldn't express more stuff. And I was busy trying to build this series of songs, as I said, that I could entertain the ladies with at my shows. But I felt like I had more to say beyond that. And that time when I was sitting there with my jaw wired shut, watching CNN and everything going on in the world, I started writing again, you know, and I came up with this line that this is the age of the Antichrist, and the devil walks in disguise, for he knows that in his own clothes we would recognize him. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with that. I felt like it was an interpretation of the things that I was seeing. But I just started, you know, I just continued to write, and by the time I knew it, I had this song that did not fit into the things that I was doing at the time. But I felt strongly about it that people needed to hear it. And by the time I got back to St. Vincent after I had recovered, I let a few people hear it, Lennox Bowman included, who encouraged me to. They started this calypso tent called Upstage, which was a different type of vibe than the traditional calypso tent, because it included a lot of younger artists and artists outside of the traditional calypso feel. And there was everybody in there, from Madza to Skinny Fabulous to Fireman, everybody, and we felt welcomed. But I wanted to express the message in the song that I written, a song called Bitter Lies. And I felt that is the stage that I could do it. Not necessarily to compete in Calypso Monarch or anything, but that's what ended up happening. But more important to me was that people heard my take on what was happening. I see all of these things as learning experiences, because I learned a lot about the Calypso art form, and I found a new respect for it, and a respect that I have today, because it is a discipline that a lot of people, I think, overlook what it takes to be a Calypsonian. It is an art, you know, and it hit me when I was actually on the stage on the finals night in 2007, singing the song and realizing that, yo, this is not about having people sing back to you or having people sing the song for you. This is about standing there and delivering your message to people who are sitting, listening intently to every word that you say. And then you're being judged by people with a score sheet. And it's a totally different ball game, and something I had no prior experience in. I never did any of the junior calypso things. I basically watched people who were seasoned calypsonians and tried to learn from them. So I had that experience, which I would always cherish, and I ended up placing third actually in that competition. At the end of this long journey, I want to be proud of the work that I've done, and be proud of the opportunities that I've had to work with some of the most incredible musicians. And I think I'm on my way to doing that. You know, I think I'm on my way to amassing a formidable foundation of material, of songs that St. Vincent and the Grenadines can be proud of. Songs that are appreciated not just by Vincentians, but by people from all walks of life. I've been fortunate to meet people from all over the world who fell in love with my music, and that's a blessing that I have to be thankful to the Almighty for. Yeah, well, this has been BOMANI's turn on Mic Check on Vc3, and I've had a great time. Don't often get to talk about myself like this. It's crazy. I've been sitting here for like 3 hours yapping. But I think it gives insight to some of the experiences. I don't believe it's unique to me. I think most entertainers and artists have a similar vibe that they travel through. You feel like you have this thing inside you that you have to get out, that you have to share, that you have to give, and you create these things that you share with people, and you hope that they appreciate it. I think most artists are just looking for appreciation, and you know, I appreciate that you all have appreciated over the years, and I hope that you continue to support the work that I do, and I thank you for allowing me to do the work that I've done. All right, so peace.
Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 one two one two one two. Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. 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 Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2.